I thought it'd be a fun idea, well, first, if I ranked every DC movie ever, but every DC live-action movie, that is, but I have not seen every DC live-action movie ever, so we're gonna do the 21st century, because I've seen all these, or at least most parts of... There's one that I haven't seen the full movie of, and it's the first one we're gonna talk about, so I'll get to that in a minute. I've seen parts of it, though, have not seen Blue Beetle, so I'm not gonna put it on the list, so this is from Catwoman to The Flash. Let's go ahead and jump into this. I haven't seen the full movie of Catwoman. I've seen parts of it, though, enough to know that I shouldn't watch the whole movie. So I have not watched the whole movie. But seeing as I haven't seen the whole movie, it's not really fair to give it an F, is it? I'm just going to add a row below this, and we'll call it, how did a studio approve this? And that's where Catwoman's gonna go. So yeah. On to Constantine. I'm putting in the C tier. I think a lot of people like it more than I do. I'm not the biggest fan of Constantine, the movie. I love the character Constantine. I don't think Keanu Reeves fits that character at all. I like the demon aspect of Constantine, like how he's dealing with demons all the time. It's kind of weird once you bring God into it, though. It's literally God versus the devil. And that's not why I watched any DC movie. It's also something I really did not like about VVS, but we'll get to that later. Batman Begins, going in the S tier. I absolutely adore this movie. It's probably my favorite movie ever, after another one we'll get to here in a minute. No way you guys know what movie I'm talking about. I've talked about Batman Begins in the past, though, so I won't stay on it too long. Let's go on to Superman Returns. I am also going to put this in the C tier. I think the first 10 minutes of this movie is like S tier material, just him catching the plane and everything. It's so Superman, it speaks to who he is. It doesn't matter how big or how small the situation is. If Superman can be there, he's going to be there. The Kryptonite Island towards the end was a little bit weird. It's kind of a smart idea, though. If it was executed better, maybe it would have been as weird, and it would have actually been seen as an intelligent move by Lex, but... Just the whole movie, it's not bad, it's just a little off after that first 10 minutes. The Dark Knight, okay. This is where, oh my god, what did I do? Okay, I fixed it. This is where, look, The Dark Knight belongs in its own tier, okay? So it's going in the tier we're gonna call just the best ever, because it's my favorite movie ever, and I don't think it's ever going to be topped. It's not just the best comic book ever to me, it's just the best movie, period, to me. It is absolutely incredible. We talked about it for 2 hours for its 15th anniversary. We did that a little late last month. Its 15th was back in July 18th. But there's a whole podcast episode on that you can listen to, so go enjoy that. Watchmen. Alright. I am going to put this in the A tier, actually. I enjoy Watchmen. I rewatched it recently, and I liked it even more than I did on my first watch. I hadn't seen it in years. Hadn't seen it since I was a child, basically. So, watching it for the first time as an adult gave me an even bigger appreciation for the movie. I think Rorschach is incredible. Dr. Manhattan's pretty good in it. I really love Owlman. So, Jupiter? I don't remember her full name, but something Jupiter, the chick, the main girl in the movie, she's good. I don't remember all the character names, I only remember Rorschach. Now, Ozymandias being the villain was pretty obvious, but that doesn't really detract of my appreciation for the movie. I really like the flashback scenes. I think it's pretty focused narrative, and for a 2.5 hour plus movie, it goes by pretty quickly. Jonah Hex. So I'm not going to put this in the F tier. I'm putting it in the D tier because I don't think it's offensively bad. I just think it's a pretty boring movie that didn't have much of a plot. And I don't think the performances are bad in it. The pacing could have been better, obviously, but it's not like what I've seen from Catwoman. It's not that level of bad, and it's not some movies I'm going to talk about later level of bad. It's not my least favorite DC movie by any means. Green Lantern, I'm putting this in the F tier. I think some people enjoy this movie more than I do, and I am happy that those people are out there. I hated it. I could barely finish this movie. It was just mostly cringe for me. The Dark Knight Rises, first one going in the B tier. I think it's good. I think it's a little too long. It's the most convoluted of the Dark Knight trilogy. And it's the reason that the Dark Knight trilogy I don't put as my favorite trilogy ever, even though The Dark Knight and Batman Begins are probably my two favorite movies ever. Because the consistency isn't quite there between... It's there between Batman Begins and The Dark Knight. The second just improved on the first. And I wasn't looking for an improvement between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, because it's obviously hard to approve what you did in The Dark Knight. It's a near perfect movie. But I think it just being a little shorter and without all the John Blake stuff, it could have been so much better. I do love Bane in the movie. They do him dirty by the end. The way they kill him is so stupid. Anne Hathaway's Catwoman is great. The cast all around is pretty good. It's just the plot itself can be convoluted at times, and the movie is a little too long. So it does feel like a drag at points. On to Man of Steel. We're getting into the DCEU movies now. That's mostly what this is going forward, aside from, I think, Joker. So, Man of Steel, I'm gonna put it right here. The Dark Knight Rises in the B tier. I think it's a really solid movie. Maybe if I enjoyed Superman more as a character, I'd put it in the A tier. I do appreciate Superman a lot more than I used to, but he's still not like a top 10 DC hero for me. Or he might be like, he's either like low top 10 or right outside of it. But personally, I do like the darker take on like the world, the DC world, and like the world of Superman. But the darker take on Superman himself is not something I really enjoy. Back to Watchmen real quick. Her name is Sally Jupiter, and that's her civilian name. Her superhero identity is Silk Spectre, which I was thinking Silk Spectre, but for some reason I thought that was a Marvel character. So I would have had that right, but I didn't want to sound stupid. I probably sound even more stupid saying I thought it was a Marvel character, but I don't know. Marvel and DC rip each other off so much, who knows? There's probably a Silk something or something about a Spectre in Marvel. But VVS, okay. I'm torn here. I'm gonna put it in the C tier. It's kind of close to being in the D tier for me, just because of how disappointing of a movie it was. It's Batman versus Superman, and I think that's the reason a lot of people just don't like the movie, is because it is disappointing for being the first time these two icons met on screen, on the big screen. I think Ben Affleck as Batman is far and away the best part of this movie. I think it's my personal favorite Batman single performance ever. Ben Affleck is not my favorite Batman actor because I don't like him as much in either of the Justice League movies as I did in BBS. I don't love everything about how Batman is written. I don't mind that he kills. A lot of people go to that, but Michael Keaton's Batman killed, so it does not bother me when I see Batman kill. I kind of like when he's not a mass murderer, though. It's a bit too much killing. I don't like that he brands people. That's the thing that I really do not like about the movie. And I hate Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, he's by far my least favorite Lex Luthor ever. He didn't really feel like Lex to me. Apparently, I think he was like Lex's son, so he's like Lex Luthor Jr. or something. Or maybe, I don't know, I don't even remember. And I watched the Ultimate Edition earlier this year because I had never seen it. And it's not that much better than theatrical. It does not change that much. There's a little here and there that better connects the story, but that's really it. If you don't like the theatrical cut, you're not going to like the Ultimate Edition, trust me. Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, she's great in it. Henry Cavill as Superman, he's pretty good, and I am not the biggest fan of what we see with Superman in the DCEU. Like, everything that happened between Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, everything they say happened. That's what I want to see with Superman. Him being idolized by the people. Him doing Superman things, not everyone shooting him down. We already saw that in Man of Steel. We don't need to see it again in Batman v Superman. get the point of deconstructing a character in multiple movies. It's enough to just do it in one movie. Okay, anyway, moving on to Suicide Squad. F tier. I really don't want to talk about this movie. Jared Leto is the worst Joker ever. Margot Robbie as Harley. She's good. She's better in later movies, though. She's better in Birds of Prey. She's better in the Suicide Squad. Will Smith as Deadshot. He's kind of just playing Will Smith, isn't he? I just don't like the movie. I think Rick Flag is way better in the Suicide Squad. Harley is way better in the Suicide Squad. Captain Boomerang is probably the best part of the original Suicide Squad for me. I thought he was pretty funny. So anyway, Justice League. Also going in the F tier. If we did not have Zack Snyder's Justice League, maybe I'd put it in the D tier. Because there are bits and pieces I enjoy of the original Justice League. I think it's an ugly movie. I don't like looking at it. I don't understand how you throw $300 million into a film and it comes out looking like that. Wonder Woman. Okay, I'm putting this in the A tier. It's joining Watchmen. And I like it more than Watchmen, so I guess I'll move Watchmen over since it's not letting me put Wonder Woman in front of it. I think Wonder Woman is incredible. It's still my favorite of the DCEU movie. Oh, that's a lie. It is not my favorite. It's my second favorite of the DCEU movies. It was my favorite for a long, long time until a movie we'll talk about later. Wonder Woman, the No Man's Land scene, it's iconic. I think the first two acts are pretty much perfection. It kind of falls apart in the third act, which is why I can't put it up here in the S tier, because the third act does not stand on par or even close to on par with the first two acts of the movie. Chris Pine as Steve Trevor is incredible. Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman is yet again great. I think she's better in Wonder Woman than she was in BVS, which she had more to do, so it's good that she was better. Aquaman, I'm putting in the C tier. Visually, the movie looks incredible. Plot and character-wise, I was not very invested. I like Jason Momoa as Aquaman. Patrick Wilson as Ocean Master, I enjoyed, but he didn't have a lot of character depth. Everything else in the movie, I don't really like. Especially Black Manta. I would have been fine if the first 10 minutes was all you saw Black Manta and you just saved him for the sequel. He's going to be the main villain of Aquaman 2. Why do you need that fight sequence between him and Aquaman? It just makes Black Manta look like a little fucking chump, and I hate it. I love James Wan as the director, but I love his horror movies so much more than his action from what I've seen. I enjoy all his horror movies more than I enjoy Aquaman. Okay, Shazam. I'm gonna put this in the B tier, and I'm gonna put it above The Dark Knight Rises. I think I like it a little more. I like it more than Man of Steel. I like The Dark Knight Rises and Man of Steel about the same. I think Shazam, I do enjoy it more. I think it's a little more rewatchable. It's not as heavy. It's not as long. So it's just an easier watch. Mark Strong as the villain, which I can't even remember the villain's name. I'm blanking here. It's Savannah. Dr. Savannah. Yeah, he's great. He's incredible. He plays a villain really good. He was good as Sinestro in Green Lantern. He's probably the best part of that movie. It kind of sucks that we never got a Green Lantern 2, because I would have been really intrigued to see more of him as Sinestro, but it sucks that we're not going to get Shazam 3 too, because I really would have loved to see him as Sivana again. And that end credits tease of Shazam 2 just hurts so much. I wish that's what Shazam 2 was. Just in hindsight, it's a fun movie. It's a great family flick. You can watch it at Christmas. Christmas movie, another DC Christmas movie. Not the best DC Christmas movie, because that title belongs to Batman Returns. But anyway, moving on to Joker, S tier. Okay, Joker is my third favorite DC movie ever, behind these two right here. I like it more than the Batman. Like, I am a Batman fanboy, and the Joker is a Batman character, obviously. Joaquin Phoenix is my favorite actor. So, and he wasn't before I saw this movie. I hadn't seen enough of Joaquin Phoenix to really say that yet, but after seeing Joker, I really just explored his filmography, and he is incredible in anything he does. And that's the main reason I'm not too upset about there being a Joker 2, because Joaquin Phoenix is coming back, and he portrayed the character perfectly. After Heath Ledger, that bar was set so high, And Jared Leto being such a disappointment, someone like Joaquin Phoenix being cast obviously gave me hope, because even before I explored deep into his filmography and saw him in multiple things, I had seen him in some stuff. I knew who Joaquin Phoenix was. I knew he was a great actor. And, oh my god, he proved that. He deserved the Oscar he got. And I've rewatched the movie quite a few times, actually, for it being so heavy and deep. It is a rewatchable film. And it's one that makes you think. I just appreciate movies like that. It's a very deep character study. It's a different take on the Joker. But that's fine. And I don't really mind that it's like an origin for the Joker, especially with how the movie ends, because you don't know what's real and what's not. You cannot trust anything from this man's perspective. And that is true to the character of the Joker. You don't know what the true origin story is. It's like The Dark Knight, how gives multiple origins to how he became the Joker. And you don't know which one is real. None of them are real, probably. He's probably making all this up. So did anything in Joker really happen? I think so. I think there are bits of truth to that movie. But how much of that was just stuff in his head? Or how much of it was exaggerated, for the betterment of the movie? Anyway, I love Joker. Moving on to Birds of Prey. I'm going to put this in the C tier. I like it more than BVS. Okay, I'm going to move Superman Returns back here, because I at least remember more about Aquaman, VVS, and Birds of Prey than I do Superman Returns. Also, I'm going to put Birds of Prey above Constantine. I liked it more than Constantine. I thought the two best characters in this movie, it's kind of funny that they're now married, was Ewan McGregor as Black Mask and Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress. I hate how Black Mask was defeated in this movie. It was so ridiculously stupid. You make him out to be this great villain, and then you just kill him like that, which I know that Black Mask is not like, he's not a super serious threat. He's kind of just, he's like a mobster. He's one of the glorified mobsters in Gotham, much like the Penguin. But killing him the way they did was so insulting, not only to Black Mask as a character, but to Ewan McGregor as an actor. How are you gonna kill him like that? It was insulting, okay? I hated it. And Huntress, she was barely used in the movie. She's used the least out of every member of the Birds of Prey, and I thought she was the best. I wish we would have gotten more of her. I like Black Canary in this movie a pretty good bit, too. The relationship between Black Mask and Zsasz, although a bit weird at times, I enjoyed it. It was different, and that's not always a bad thing. We need some diversity here. And Wonder Woman 1984. I'm also going to put this in the C tier. What I'm gathering here is DC's made a lot of middling movies. And I'm going to put it above Aquaman. I'd probably rather rewatch... that's a lie. They're on level with each other, Wonder Woman 84 and Aquaman. I don't really enjoy either. Steve Trevor just stealing a man's body and Wonder Woman being totally okay with that it's not a character trait I think Wonder Woman would have. She'd be like, okay, Steve, I love you, but you can't just use this guy's body as a host. I'm sorry. It takes her until the end of the movie to come to that conclusion, though. And just the whole stone thing is pretty silly. I thought Kristen Wiig as Cheetah was actually quite good. I just don't like this movie that much. It's okay. It wasn't like insultingly bad. I think some of the action scenes are actually quite good, but it did not live up to the original Wonder Woman, and yeah, it's just another middling entry by DC. The Snyder Cut, I'm putting this in the A tier with Watchmen and Wonder Woman. I do enjoy Watchmen a bit more. I don't think the Snyder Cut, or Zack Snyder's Justice League, I should say, is Snyder's best movie. Also like the original Dawn of the Dead more. Just recently watched that. That movie, I'm usually not a zombie fan, but that movie is terrific. Not much to say other than it's what the original Justice League should have been. Like, we should have never gotten that hot garbage in 2017. It's amazing that we got Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm glad we did. It looks so much better, just from a visual standpoint, than the original Justice League did. The plot threads are so much more interconnected. Stuff makes more sense. Characters get more moments. They're more fledged out. They actually feel like a team and not just a bunch of random heroes coming together. Steppenwolf is a much better villain. He seems more menacing and he poses more of a threat in the Snyder Cut than he did in the original Justice League. And also, just seeing Darkseid was cool, even though he wasn't in a ton of the movie. Just the fact that he was still there. Pretty awesome. I'm glad we did get Darkseid. Well, not on the big screen, even though it should have been on the big screen. And I should also say about Zack Snyder's Justice League, it's the best Superman is in any of these movies between Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League, Snyder's Justice League specifically. I mean, I even liked him more in the theatrical cut than I did in BVS. I just didn't like the deconstruction of that character. In Man of Steel, it was alright because, yeah, he's unknown to the world, but once the world actually knows who Superman is, I don't really get why they would turn on him unless he did something truly awful. But I get that Lex, turned the world against him, so it's fine on that level. But anyway, away from the Snyder movies, on to the Suicide Squad. Now, earlier, I accidentally said that Wonder Woman was my favorite DCEU movie because I was not thinking of the Suicide Squad. I don't know if just because it's ushered in this new era DC, I guess, with James Gunn being the one in charge now, and a lot of that is probably due to the success of the Suicide Squad critically and Peacemaker, the positive reception that both have received. I love both of them too, the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. They're pretty on level with each other. I slightly prefer the Suicide Squad, just I guess because it's a story told in less time. So, rewatching Peacemaker is a bit more work than rewatching the Suicide Squad. And I rewatched the Suicide Squad about 6 times after it came out, because I hated my job, and I hated my life, but this movie brought me joy, and that is important. I don't think it's as well made as The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, or Joker, but it's pretty close. It's a really well made movie. There's a lot of humor. Most of it hits for me. There's not really much cringe in it, much like the original Suicide Squad was. So it was such a vast improvement on the original Suicide Squad, which is not hard to do, but I don't understand people that still say that James Gunn can't make a good movie. He incorporates humor, he incorporates emotion, he does everything that a movie needs so well. Technically, it's a good movie. On the humor level, it's pretty good. It's not overbearing, and the character depth is there. Every character except for the expendable ones at the beginning, because they're just there to die. Every other character has depth, including Polka Dot Man. He made a character like Polka Dot Man sympathetic, and you actually, although his death is a humorous one, you still feel something, because we had an attachment to that character, although it's a ridiculous character. That's what James Gunn does best. On to the Batman. I thought it was a really good movie. It's a 3-hour long movie, but it's a movie that I don't think you entirely feel the length of. It's 3 hours, but it feels like your average 2 to 2.5 hour movie, just because the pacing is done so well. I think it's better in the first half than the second half, the pacing, but you get a lot of depth with the characters. I wish we would have got more of Pattinson's Bruce Wayne instead of just as Batman, but it is cool that it is a Batman movie. He's barely ever just Bruce. He's usually just doing Batman things, and it's a detective story. That's what people have been raving about the past, who knows how many years. People have wanted a movie like this for a while, a Batman movie like this for a while, where it's purely a detective story. And I enjoyed that aspect of it. I like the inner monologue that we get, just a bit of it. Something in the Way, of course, was the song for this movie, and I think it's incorporated in the film pretty well. Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, great. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, stole every scene he was in. He was incredible. I cannot wait for the Penguin show just because of what we got in the Batman with him. He was probably my favorite part of the movie, even though he wasn't a major part of the film. The cast all around is good, and the narrative is pretty tight, despite it being 3 hours long. Black Adam. So I've only seen this once, so I am going to put it in the C tier. If I rewatched it, I'm afraid that it'll go down, because I don't think I'm ever going to rewatch this movie. It was just a movie. There's nothing special about this movie. I don't like The Rock in the role as Black Adam. He was just cast because he's The Rock, and he kind of looks like Black Adam. Had no kind of accent. The Rock as an actor, I just don't think he has range. He has a ton of charisma, but when it comes to acting, there is no range. In every movie, he's basically just The Rock. The Justice Society was the better part of this movie for me. I liked the Justice Society more than I liked the title character. And that's not really a good thing. It's not really a bad thing either, though, because the Justice Society are a major part of the film. Dr. Fate, Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate is great. Hawkman is great in the movie. Those are really the only two characters that get a lot of depth in the Justice Society. I didn't really like any of the other supporting characters. Those are mainly the two characters I like in the movie. So, yeah, take that as you will. Shazam 2, another one. Going in the C tier. I like it more than all of these, though. Yeah, I like it more than all those. It's high C tier. It's like a C+, okay? It's unlike the first movie, it doesn't have as much emotion. I really wish we would have got just more family moments with the Shazamly. I absolutely adore the parents, and I wish we would have got more of them in this movie than just little glimpses here and there of them. It felt like they were in more of the first movie, and Freddy is by far the best part of Shazam 2, in my opinion. He was one of the better parts of the first one, too. He's really the only character that, besides, like, the parents and, the oldest sister, I don't even remember her name. I think Mary, yeah. Mary, those are really the only characters that, like, I want to say stayed consistent, but I guess all of them stayed consistent. We just didn't get as much of everyone else as we got of Billy and Freddy and Mary. I think we got as much of Mary as we did in the first one. Maybe a little bit less, but the goddesses of Atlas, they weren't a great villain. They weren't terrible. I did enjoy them, Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, in those roles, just seeing them bounce off of one another. But them as the main antagonists of the film, I never really took it like super seriously. It was a little too over the top and ridiculous at times. I don't know. There's not much else I can say about it. It's a fun watch, but it's still not one of the... There's nothing too heavy. There's not a ton of emotion in the movie. So I can't put it above C. It is an average film. And The Flash, I'm going to put it in the B tier, okay? Okay, I know a lot of people kind of hate this movie. And I don't know how much of that has to do with Ezra Miller. Look, I don't support anything that they did. Of course not. But just looking at this as a movie and looking at Miller's performance as a performance, not looking at Barry as Ezra, but looking at Barry as Barry, Ezra Miller's performance in this thing was incredible. He had to play two parts, and they knocked it out of the park. All personal feelings aside, although I don't really... I hope they get better. I want them to get better, get the help they need. I don't have any grudges against what they did. I don't know how much of that was rumors either, because I'm not one of those people that just kept following the story to see what was up. I just heard things here and there, and I don't know how much of it was true and how much of it wasn't. But it seems that they didn't kill anyone. It seems that they didn't, like, seriously injure anyone, although they may have thrown some punches, hit someone with a chair or whatever. That person was not seriously injured, so I think they just need to get the help they need. I hope that their life isn't destroyed, because they don't deserve that. I don't think anyone does, unless, like I said, you are a murderer or something along those lines. Anyway, the movie itself. I think The Flash was the best part of the movie, The Flash. And that, to me, is a good thing. The Flash was the best character. The Flash had pretty much all the emotional moments of the movie. The moment between he and his mom near the end of the film, before he goes back and, changes what he did, saving her. It's very heartfelt and heavy, and it mostly lands. The emotion with Barry in this movie lands. Batman and Supergirl are not utilized well in this movie, I do not think. It was awesome seeing Michael Keaton again, but just having him there to die was stupid. It was so stupid. Why would you bring Michael Keaton back just to kill him? I know it's Flashpoint, and the whole thing about Flashpoint is Barry creates this world. In the comics, it's like the Civil War, basically, between Atlantis and Themyscira, which I think is way better than the Zod invasion. And I put it in the B tier, but it's really between B and C. I just enjoy it more than all those C tier movies, and I put it on level with Man of Steel and Shazam. I think it's as good as those movies are. Some things that do irritate me a bit more in those two movies, like Batman and Supergirl, just kind of being there to be there, because they don't do much, they don't get a lot of character. It is frustrating, but the Flash being the best part of the movie is something I appreciate and enjoy. It is a Flash movie, so Flash and all the Flash stuff being good kind of makes up for Batman and Supergirl's Incorporation not being done super well. But that's just my take. Let me know what you think about this ranking in the comments below. What would your ranking be? Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time.